Okay, we're back. I decided that I think we are going to go to Vaults 5. And this will be the Vaults 5 video. Because we can do it. We have all these spells, they're reasonably castable. What I am going to do is I'm going to start out, and I am going to not be stingy this time about using consumables. We'll drink Haste. We'll drink a Brilliance just because. A little more reliability of spells. Now we've got Controlled Blink down to 1% fail. 1% for everything, really, that we can cast, which is nice. And just to be sure, we'll drink an Agility too, although that shouldn't be necessary. If we do this right, nothing should really be next to us. And we'll go down. 24 Vault Guards and a Vault Sentinel. Okay, I don't see any Wardens, so that's nice. We're actually going to open up with some horrible things. We'll get a nice stack of these guys beside us. And then we'll make an Eldritch Tentacle. Excuse me. So as we see, our abominations and the tentacle monsters are doing some work for us. And we really only need to get worried if a warden shows up. Because what we're going to do on this stage of it is sort of fight this stuff off and do it turn by turn until a warden shows up. Unfortunately, he already did, and that means we can't go back upstairs unless we do it right now. I don't want to do it right now. I haven't really killed much, and if I have to go back down, I'll be surrounded by these guards, and I'll just take a bunch of damage. So instead, we're going to use Channel Magic, so we start getting some of this back. If we want to, we could just try to airstrike him to death. That is an option. In fact, it's the only way we can kill him at range. Unfortunately, we're next to a couple of Vault Guards. So, what we could do, probably one of the optimal strategies, or at least different strategies that you can do here, is another option would be to blink out of this stuff, and then just kind of keep blinking until I reach a corner. Also, I will go ahead and read Magic Mapping, because that's actually one of the first things you should do in here. In our case, we are strong enough to sort of fight at the staircase for a while, so I didn't see that as a priority. But Magic Mapping is nice to have here because you can sort of suss out what the best position is, and it'll usually be a corner. Any of these would be fine. Personally, I think I would prefer this spot, since there's really only two entrances to it, and we can block both of them with a pile of summons. Yeah, if I could pick anywhere in this stage to fight, it would be right here. But right now we're in the center, so what are we going to do about that? Well, we're going to let our summons do the work for a while. Actually, you know what? No. We are going to slowly make our way around the level. But we're going to do it through the tentacle. And make everything fight through that. If we wanted to, we could toss a Scroll of Immolation out there right now, but we're using summons here. And we really don't want them to go hostile to us. Let's turn Channel Magic on again. I really do need to train some more invocations, so this is a bit better, but this is about the only spot in the game where we'll probably need it. Get some more horrible things here. We want to kill that ogre mage relatively quickly because he can have Crystal Spear. Excuse me. Looks like our tentacle died somehow. So we'll make another one right here. Let's walk away from this Tengu. He can cast some pretty high damage spells on us. And we're getting lots of experience as the tentacle does work for us. We've got ourselves another tentacle in the corner now. And again, these corners are good. This one's not ideal. I think the bottom right is still the best, but, you know. Whoa, hey! We've got an Iron Giant. So let's make another tentacle and let's get out of here. He's pretty nasty. He can throw his allies at us, and he can iron shot us, and he has a ton of hit points, a lot of AC, and a lot of damage. And to top that off, he's resistant to fire, cold, and poison. He's not a guy that we want to really fight. Fortunately, our tentacle can kill him, and it looks like, ironically enough, that started as a golden dragon, and the tentacle must have transformed it. Kind of just killing things a little bit at a time. As usual, trying to let the tentacle do as much of the work as possible. Uh-oh. That's nasty. This Lich started with Corrosive Bolt. He does not care this stuff is in between us and him, and he doesn't even care about our D-Missile sometimes, so let's back up a bit with a C-Blank. We're really rolling through our hunger, our food stores, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll find a little bit more here. We'll get spellcasting trained up a little bit more. And maybe rely a little bit more on chunks than permafood. Oh, here we go. Got a few little friends here. If one of these guys spawns with a big enough shield, it's just not even worth trying to use Iron Shot on them. They'll tend to block it. Things seem to be filtering into this corner fairly slowly, and that is the benefit of fighting in a corner. As close to one at a time as possible. Now, if you really wanted to, let's say you're a character that you're a little less confident about being able to clear the floor. We're going to clear the floor, but if you were a character where you just kind of wanted to ninja the rune, or ninja some loot and then the rune and get out, it's good to know exactly where the rune can spawn, and that varies depending on which version of Vaults 5 you got. You can look it up if you want, and you know how to read the maps. But in general, it's going to be pretty obvious if you use magic mapping. Like, I believe the spots that it can spawn on this map are probably here in the center, probably here and here for the top, or for the bottom left. For the bottom right, I would assume it's something like here and here, or maybe also one of these two. And for this one, I think it's here and here. I mean, that might not be quite right, but those are pretty good guesses. And again, if you want to be positive, you can look it up. And you can do that before you even do the floor, as long as you magic map and have an idea of which vault you've gotten. But knowing where the rune is, or where the rune can be, is a real benefit for saving your time, which increases the safety. Sentinels can be a bit of a problem, but we are carrying 2 potions of cancellation. And if we did happen to get marked through our high MR, all we would do is we would drink cancellation and then we would teleport. We would make sure to kill the Sentinel first. Now, we've killed enough stuff at this point that I feel comfortable venturing out a bit. By no means is the floor empty, but the ambush at the center is not quite so bad now. Uh-oh. More bolts of acid. But that's okay, because as usual, tentacle and horrible things save the day. Whoa, I am moving too fast. Whoops. That is a Titan. I should have been holding shift when I did that. Let's get out of here. Titans are a little bit obnoxious because not only can they smite you and do a lot of damage in melee, they can also heal themselves. And of course they have airstrike, so if you are flying, you want to make sure that you turn that off around a Titan. Bolts 5 is definitely not the place you want to be playing carelessly. Not unless you're on some sort of speed run. Real-time speed run. This guy's berserked. Let's scattershot him. He could do quite a bit of damage to us if he stayed next to us berserked, so we wanted to finish him off fast. That's the downside to using the Eldritch Tentacle. Sometimes it will polymorph things into more dangerous things, and sometimes it will berserk things that were already dangerous. Although, usually, it just kills everything. Like so. Wardens can be a bit tough even if you're not worried about them sealing doors. I mean, they still do 36 damage plus any kind of weapon that they have. And they often spawn, maybe always spawn with a ranged weapon, so good to watch out for that. We still do not have the silver rune. It was not in any of the places we explored yet. But we're not trying to grab the rune and leave. We're way more interested in making this floor safe to explore, and so we can get the giant trove of loot, which is all over the floor. Grand Grimoire here, but we have all the spells that are in it. Sif Moon already gave us artifact books with the same stuff. I'm going to drop this Ring of Fire that we just picked up. We're not really planning on using any fire spells, even though we did find Firestorm. There's an elf here, and if you recall from our elf adventure, he's the one that can call down Hellfire or Damnation right on our heads. So you want to be careful with those elves. Have some idea of how you're going to quickly get away from them if things go south. Like so. We really might want to consider training up some more charms just to get Deflect Missile to a higher spell power, which would maybe help us not get hit so often by ranged attacks. But I think that Spell Hunger is the priority right now. Things tend to sort of clump up in this ambush area. You'll notice that there don't seem to be many guards left, but the rest of the floor has just sort of clumped up. But a tentacle will clear out most of that stuff off screen. Seems to be polymorphing some things. I doubt that that Azure Jelly is spawned here normally. Convoker was summoning, so we'll back up. With any luck, we will find a few more artifact rings here. In terms of items, that's the best thing we could really ask for. It's just a nice set of artifact rings. Well, let's clear out our inventory a little bit. In fact, looks like we found an artifact ring. We'll cast Identify with this scroll. Oh, well, that's interesting. That presents an interesting choice. 3 pips of MR, but 1 pip of negative fire resistance, and 9 points of magic. We're going to wear this. We are going to wear this. We're going to replace one of our rings of magic with that. Rings of protection from magic, that is. Do we have any others? I could have sworn we were wearing 3 rings of protection from magic. Am I wrong? Maybe not. That makes things a little more difficult. Well, that gives us more MR than we ever need. We could take off this one, RN plus, MR plus stealth, and get ourselves another pip of fire resistance, but we still, you know, as long as we have this mutation, we still have some fire resistance. So I like this, personally. Getting the extra magic, getting 3 pips of magic resistance. It's a little bit overkill, but I'm not going to say no to it. Yeah, we can definitely replace, as long as nothing else changes, we can definitely replace the MR plus, RN plus ring, because we're maxed out on RN even without it, and we're effectively maxed out on MR even without it. let's see. Let's see. It's +2 ring of protection. Alright, let's take a little bit of a detour. We're gonna just walk to Elf 3 real fast. And now that we've cleared this entry for the most part, we can, well, let's finish clearing it. Let's finish clearing it. We'll go to Elf, and we'll replace that ring with +5 intelligence. Oh, jeez. This is not as clear as I thought. Trying to get some meat for the road here. Okay, here we go. Just a little detour. Don't worry, we will go back immediately. But we're going to get this ring we left. We'll drop off this, keeping careful note that it's there in case we need it ever again. And we lose absolutely nothing except for 1 pip of MR, which we don't care about because we still have 4, which is kind of the magic number. If you are suffering from a lack of MR for some reason, and you have 4 pips of MR, you're probably doing something wrong. Or you ran into, I don't know, Menace maybe? Struggling to think of something that would not have 0% or close to it chance of affecting you with 4 pips of MR. Okay, this may help our spell hunger a little bit. In fact, I think it does. Yes, it does. No spell hunger on Malign Gateway anymore. Let's go back to Vaults 5. Some of these little portions of the vault can be a bit cramped, which unfortunately means, of course, no tentacle. So you have to lure things out a bit if you're relying upon that spell. Really need to unclutter our inventory a bit. We'll drop this enslavement wand. You know, we're gonna go ahead and drop the lightning rod. As much as I enjoy it, it's just not really worth keeping around. It's not that great of an evocable. Oh, we're gonna drop brand weapon. We have no use for that. We're keeping Lignify for now, and you may be wondering, well, gee, isn't that an early game survival thing? Yes, but Lignification also makes you immune to Torment, and unless we somehow get Necromutation, Lignify may just save our bacon later on down the road, so I don't want to drop those just yet. We've cleared up 3 slots. This is good enough. The Scroll of Recharging was found. It's not bad. Found a little pack of, I mean, I would consider this to be popcorn at this point. Just things that move and do damage, nothing particularly special about them. But they can certainly kill us if we were to let them get next to us. Inventory full again. What else can we get rid of here? Technically, we could drop the potions of mutation and come back to them if we need them. Personally, I like to have them on me. We can drop this Ice Blast. We found yet another Wand of Enslavement. We'll go ahead and drop the Acid Wand. Since we have Scattershot, I mean, There are situations where we'd want acid instead, but I think this is fine. That'll be good for now. Grab this book as well. Some of these harpies still a danger to us, even though they're lower level, because our defenses have not gone up. Anything fast moving that can do any amount of melee damage is going to be something you want to be very careful of if you have a low AC character like this. Found a few more books, nothing we want or need. Seems like the floor is mostly empty now, which is what we want, and we found the rune. Now it is possible for there to be a rune mimic on this floor, and in fact I think it happens. In my experience, I've noticed it to be relatively common. I mean, I think maybe in half the games I play I've seen a rune mimic on this floor, but that's not to say that's actually how it works. We're more or less just playing cleanup now. The dangerous part of this floor is, I'm not going to say it's like over, because a pack of anything can spawn in here, but it's basically clear, so that's fine. And looking over our loot, it was not terribly rewarding. I guess there's this slimy arbalest I can identify here. Huh. Well, if we were terribly interested in crossbows, that would be a nice thing. That's an in-game weapon if I ever saw one. A little late for us to be training weapons, though. By the way, we're level 25, and we have 0 weapon skill. So it is possible. It is possible to play pure caster. It's a little bit tedious, but you can do it. Let's go ahead and turn on our defenses for a while. But, in any event, Vault 5 is done. And it looks like we even found a staff. Let's see what that is. Staff of Energy. This is actually a really good find, this Staff of Energy, because if for whatever reason, I don't really think it's going to be a problem since we've reduced our spell hunger to manageable levels, but if somehow, especially if this has happened earlier, but if somehow we have a problem with hunger, that Staff of Energy will make us not suffer any spell hunger anymore. So that's just something to keep in mind, that it's there. But otherwise, we got the rune, we got a few wands that we aren't really going to use, and we got this interesting minus fire resistance ring. All in all, an okay haul. So that'll be it for this video. That was Vault 5. And next time, we have the option of going to Tomb, which as I said before, we're not doing that yet, or to Depths. And we're probably almost certainly going to Depths, where I don't anticipate us having too much trouble. Alright, that's it.